Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're diving into the early reign of King Aegon I, Aegon Targaryen, a time people often call the Dragon's Peace. You know, it sounds pretty tranquil, right? A nice long period of calm under the first Targaryen king. But here's the thing, the twist, really. Before that peace truly set in, Westeros saw the Dragon's Wars. We're talking three major conflicts that popped up right after the conquest finished, and they paint a very different picture of Aegon's first years on the Iron Throne. So our mission here is to unpack those early struggles. We're going deep into the source material, looking at how Aegon actually dealt with all this resistance that kept cropping up. We'll find some pretty surprising tactics, some really tragic losses, and an ending, honestly, that nobody really saw coming. So get ready. This is your shortcut to understanding this complex, often brutal early years of consolidating power under a legendary king. Lots of fascinating details, strategic moves, and yeah, some real mysteries too. Okay, so the source material tells us King Aegon III's reign, which was pretty long, 1 AC to 37 AC.
Right, that's after the conquest.
Exactly. It says it was by and large a peaceful one in his later years, but that's the key part, later years. The Wars of Conquest didn't just, stop the second he was crowned. Not everyone in Westeros had actually submitted. There was still resistance, sometimes pretty violent resistance.
Absolutely. The kneeling wasn't universal, not yet.
So first stop, the Sistermen's Rebellion. This is in the bite. You've got Lady Marla Sunderland declaring herself Queen of the Three Sisters. She basically saw a chance, right? The realms in chaos, the Iron Fleet's wrecked.
A bold move, considering who she was up against. Very bold.
Aegon's response, though, fast, decisive. He didn't even fly Balerion himself for this one. He just ordered his new Warden of the North, Torrhen Stark, to handle it.
So the North gets involved early on.
Yep. A northern army under Sir Warwick Mannerly sails down from White Harbor. They even hired Braavosi galleys. But the real kicker, the thing that ended it quick, Queen Visenya shows up on Vhagar.
Ah, that would do it.
Right. Seeing Vhagar circling Sisterton, that pretty much shattered their resolve instantly. Lady Marla was out, her younger brother Stefan was in. He immediately bent the knee to Visenya, renewed his loyalty to the Eyrie.
Standard procedure then. Submission, hostages.
Pretty much. Sons fostered with the Manderleys and Arryns to ensure loyalty. But Marla's fate? That's kind of chilling, actually.
What happened to her?
Exiled first, then imprisoned. 5 years later, they removed her tongue. She spent the rest of her life with the Silent Sisters, tending the dead.
Wow. Okay. So not just defeated, but silenced. Permanently.
Yeah. It makes you think, doesn't it? Was this just putting down a rebellion quickly? Or was it Aegon sending a very clear message about what defiance meant? Peace through absolute fear, maybe.
It's definitely a stark example. Aegon wasn't playing around with establishing his authority. The dragons weren't just for conquest. They were the ever-present threat afterwards. Lady Marla's fate, I think, it underscores that. It was about making an example, absolutely.
No room for doubt. Okay, so that was one approach. Direct, overwhelming force, ending in submission. Meanwhile, across Westeros, the Iron Islands. Utter chaos.
Right, because House Hoare was gone,
Yeah.
wiped out at Harrenhal.
Exactly. Balerion's fire killed Harren the Black and all his sons. Huge power vacuum. And suddenly, everyone wants to be king. Quarren Volmark on Harlaw, claiming descent from the old kings, the Black Line.
Yeah?
Then there's this guy Lodos, a barefoot holy man, a drowned god priest on Old Wick, claiming miracles, wearing a driftwood crown.
Always a religious element in these power grabs.
Seems like it. And others, too, on Great Wick, Pike, Orkmont. They fought each other for over a year. Brutal infighting. The source gives this detail, quote, "The waters between the islands were so choked with corpses that krakens appeared by the hundreds drawn by the blood."
Grim. Really paints a picture of the anarchy.
So finally, in 2 AC, Aegon steps in. He flies Balerion over, brings huge fleets from the Reach, the Westerlands, even Bear Island longships.
Bringing the full weight of the new kingdom.
Yeah, but the Iron Men, they were so weakened by their own civil war they barely resisted. Some actually welcomed the dragons, believe it or not. Maybe just wanted the killing to stop.
Order from chaos, even if it's dragon-imposed order.
Aegon killed Quarren Volmark himself with Blackfire. But then he did something interesting. He let Quarren's baby son inherit his lands.
That's different from the Sistermen approach.
Very. And Lodos, the priest king, he called for krakens to pull down Aegon's ships.
Did they
Yeah.
show up?
Nope. So Lodos filled his robes with stones and walked into the sea, said he was going to seek my father's counsel. Thousands of his followers did the same.
Good grief. Mass suicide.
Yeah, the source says their bodies washed ashore on Old Wick for years. Just
Great.
tragic, almost surreal. But the really smart move, the strategic masterstroke, was what Aegon did next. He didn't just put some mainland lord in charge.
All right, what did he?
He let the Ironborn choose their own lord paramount.
He let them choose, after all that.
Yep. And they chose Vicken Greyjoy of Pike. He did homage to Aegon, of course.
Okay, so Greyjoy becomes the Lord Paramount.
But, and this is key only over the Iron Islands themselves, he had to renounce all claims to the mainland.
Ah, containing them.
Exactly. And Harrenhal, the old horseat, that went to Aegon's master-at-arms, Quentyn Coharies. But Coharies was made a vassal of Lord Tully of Riverrun, and he had to marry a Tully daughter.
So binding everyone together, integrating the new appointments into the existing, now loyal power structure. Very clever.
It really is. What's fascinating here, like you said, is how different this is from the Three Sisters. He didn't just crush them, he showed this understanding, maybe, that letting them have some self-determination, even under his rule, might work better there.
Yeah, it's pragmatism versus, I don't know, maybe recognizing deep cultural differences.
Right.
The Ironborn are famously difficult to rule from the outside. Was he just being practical, realizing they were ungovernable otherwise? Or is this actual political genius, understanding his new, diverse kingdom?
It really shows him adapting his methods, doesn't it? Not just one-size-fits-all conquest.
It does. A significant evolution, especially so early in his reign.
And maybe, given their history, it was the only way to avoid another long, drawn-out fight, like the one that was brewing down south.
Ah, yes. Dorne.
Dorne. With the Sisters and the Iron Islands dealt with, only Dorne remained independent south of the Red Mountains. And again, Aegon didn't just charge in immediately. He tried words first. Sent lords, maesters, septons to Sunspear for a whole year.
Trying to negotiate with Princess Maria Martell, the Yellow Toad of Dorne.
That's her. Famously stubborn. The talks went nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
So diplomacy fails.
Diplomacy fails. So for AC, it's back to fire and blood. Rhaenys takes Meraxes down, sets the planky town ablaze.
Not many died from the fire itself, though.
No, apparently most drowned trying to escape into the water. But as the source says, first blood had been shed. The war was on.
And this time it wasn't going to be quick.
Not at all. The invasion plan looked massive on paper. Orys Baratheon takes 1,000 knights up the Boneway. Aegon himself leads 30,000 men through the Prince's Pass.
30,000?
Yeah, Lord Harlan Tyrell, Warden of the South, was apparently super confident. Thought they could just crush any Dornish army in open battle.
But the Dornish weren't planning on an open battle, were they?
Not a chance. They had a completely different playbook. They used the land itself as their weapon.
Guerrilla warfare, basically.
Exactly. They never offered battle. They just vanished. Withdrew deeper into Dorne, burning their own crops, poisoning every well. Watchtowers empty. Aegon's vanguard apparently found a pass blocked by a wall of rotting sheep carcasses.
Ooh. Effective, though.
Very. Lord Tyrell marches on Hellhold, right, through this brutal desert. Every single water source poisoned. He loses a quarter of his men, almost all his horses, to heat and bad water, finds Hellhold completely abandoned.
A hollow victory, if ever there was one.
And Orys Baratheon up in the mountains. Even worse. The Boneway passes were treacherous. Horses struggled. Boulders rained down from defenders they couldn't even see.
Ambush territory.
Totally. At the River Wile, archers just appear, thousands of arrows. Then a huge rockfall cuts off their retreat. The Stormlanders were, quote, butchered like hogs.
Ouch.
Borys himself and a dozen lords captured by Wile of Wile, the widow lover, held for ransom.
The widow lover. What a name.
Right. Aegon had some minor successes, took Skyreach, Yarnwood, got tricked at Ghost Hill when Lord Toland sent his fool out as champion.
It's full.
When Aegon finally gets to Sunspear, half empty, Maria's gone. Rhaenys apparently said the yellow toad is melted into the sand.
She knew how to disappear.
Despite all this, Aegon declares Dorne conquered, names Lord John Rosby Castellan of Sunspear, sets up garrisons, and leaves.
Uh-oh, that sounds premature.
Big time. Almost the moment he's gone, Dorne just erupts, spearmen appearing like desert flowers after a rain.
They were just waiting.
Completely.
Yeah.
Skyreach, Yarnwood, the Tor, Ghost Hill, all retaken in about 2 weeks. The royal garrisons massacred.
No mercy.
Worse than that, Aegon's castellans were apparently kept alive for long torment. Dornish lords betting on who could keep them alive the longest while, dismembering them.
Gods. That's horrific.
And Rosby, the castellan of Sunspear, Maria Martell herself had him dragged to the top of the spear tower and thrown off.
She did it herself.
Source says so. And Lord Tyrell. Stuck at Hellholt, poisoned water, constant attacks.
Yeah.
Hears about Sunspear falling, tries to march across the sands to retake it.
Can you guess?
He and his entire army disappeared. Somewhere east of Hellholt, no man of them was ever seen again, just vanished into the red sands.
Wow. An entire army. Gone. That's profound. It really highlights the difference, doesn't it? Targaryens had the dragons, the shock and awe, but the Dornish had the terrain, the knowledge, the patience. Guerrilla tactics perfected.
They turned their homeland into the ultimate weapon.
Exactly. And the disappearance of Tyrell's army. It's such a stark illustration of how effectively they did it. It showed Aegon the limits of his power, that dragons couldn't just burn everything into submission if you couldn't find the enemy. It fundamentally challenged his whole way of war.
A truly brutal lesson. And Aegon wasn't someone who took lessons like that well, so the war just grinds on. Another 7 years, 6 AC to 12 AC.
And it got worse, didn't it?
More personal. Much worse. It became this endless, bloody series of atrocities, raids, and retaliations. Just pure vengeance cycles. Remember Oris Baratheon and the others captured by the Widow Lover?
Yeah, they were ransomed eventually.
In 7 AC, yeah. Ransomed for their weight in gold. But when they got back, the Widow Lover had chopped off every man's sword hand, so they could never fight Dorne again.
Vicious. And symbolic.
Aegon retaliated, burned the wild keeps, but the Widow Lover just hid in caves, survived for another 20 years.
Always elusive.
Then in 8 AC, it's really dry. Dornish raiders, apparently with pirate held, hit Cape Wrath, burned into the Rainwood. Princess Maria supposedly said, fire for fire.
So Visenya answered.
Oh yeah. Visenya burned Sunspear again. Lemonwood, Ghost Hill, the Tor. Next year, 9 AC, Aegon joins her. They burn Sandstone, Vaith, the Hellholt, just scorching the earth.
Kind of burned them out.
But the Dornish hit back. 10 AC, Lord Fowler raids the Reach, burns villages, takes Nightsong. Sir Joffrey Dane hits Old Town, kills Lord Hightower's son.
Tit for tat. Escalating.
And then, the big tragedy. 10 AC. While Aegon and Visenya are off burning things, Rhaenys flies Meraxes back to the Hellholt.
Oh, no.
Yeah, a scorpion bolt hits Meraxes right in the eye. The dragon crashes down, destroys the castle tower, part of the wall.
In Rhaenys.
Unknown. That's the thing. Did she die in the fall? Crushed? Or did she survive, only to be captured and tormented to death in the Uller dungeons? We don't know for sure. Just that she died. 10 AC.
Losing Rhaenys.
Yeah.
And Meraxes. That's huge. Personally for Aegon, but strategically too.
It changed everything. It unleashed the dragon's wrath. The next 2 years were just pure fury.
Ruining everything.
Every Dornish castle reportedly burned 3 times over. Balerion and Vhagar relentless. The sands around Hellholt supposedly fused into glass.
Like Dragonstone.
Exactly. The Iron Throne put huge bounties on Dornish lords' heads. Led to assassinations, Fowler, Vaith, Lady Toland, 4 lords of Hellholt in succession.
But the Dornish retaliated.
Of course. Assassins hit King's Landing lords. Connington, Mertens, Fell, even the Targaryens weren't safe. Aegon was attacked 3 times, Visenya when she fought them off with Dark Sister.
Just constant attacks and counterattacks.
And the worst incident, maybe the most infamous, 12 AC, the Widow Lover again, attacks a wedding at Fontaine, kills Lord Oakhart, the guests, gilds the groom, rapes the bride and her maids, sells them to slavers in Myr.
Gods. That's beyond warfare. That's just savagery.
It shows how low it had sunk. Personal, brutal revenge on both sides. The loss of Rhaenys just poured fuel on that fire.
It really marks a shift, doesn't it? From conquest to pure, brutal attrition and revenge. It went way beyond conventional war. Losing Rhaenys and Meraxes wasn't just personal. It proved even dragons weren't invincible. A critical turning point. It pushed both sides into places they hadn't been before.
By this point, Dorne is described as a smoking desert. Famine, plague, blight. A blasted land.
But still not broken.
Still not broken. House Martell's words, unbowed, unbent, unbroken, held true. Apparently, a captured knight told Visenya that Maria would rather see her people die than be slaves. Visenya's reply, cold. Said they'd be glad to oblige.
It seems like it would just go on forever. Until everyone was dead.
It looked that way. But then, 13 AC. Something happens that dragons couldn't achieve. Age and illness.
Miriam Martell.
Miriam Martell, the Yellow Toad, dies. Her enemies, of course, spread rumors it was while having intimate relations with a stallion.
Classy. Always classy.
Right. So her son, Nemor, takes over. He's 60, not in great health, and he's had enough of the killing.
He wants peace.
Immediately. Sends a delegation to King's Landing. Led by his own daughter and heir, Princess Doria, they bring the skull of Meraxes back and offer peace terms.
Just like that.
Yeah.
After everything, how was that received?
Badly. In King's Landing, fierce opposition. Visenya, still grieving, still furious, says, "No peace without submission, full stop."
Understandable from her perspective.
Orys Baratheon, remembering his hand, argues they should send Doria back, missing a hand herself.
Ah, bitter.
Lord Oakhart, whose family suffered at that wedding massacre, suggests selling her to the lowest brothel.
Just cruel. Vengeful.
But Aegon, he shuts them down. Vows Doria won't be harmed, she's an envoy under his roof. You can tell he's weary of the war.
But he's got a problem, right? Giving peace without submission. After losing Rhaenys. Looks weak. Could encourage others.
Exactly. The Reach, the Stormlands, the marches they'd bled for years. How does he justify peace now without victory?
A real dilemma for him.
Then comes the moment. The big mystery. Princess Doria gives Aegon a sealed letter from her father, Nymor, marked, "For your eyes only, your grace." Aegon reads it, right there in open court. His face, like stone, silent. When he gets up, his hand is apparently cut, dripping blood from clenching it so hard on the Iron Throne.
Whoa.
He takes the letter, throws it in the fire, never speaks of what it said. Ever?
Never.
Never. That night, he flies Balerion to Dragonstone, alone, comes back the next morning, and agrees to Namor's terms. Signs the peace treaty, eternal peace with Dorne. Dorne remains sovereign.
Just like that. After reading the letter. What on earth was in it?
Nobody knows. Still don't. The theories are wild. Was it a heartfelt plea, father to father? A list of all the dead, Dornish and Targaryen, to shock him? Something magical written in Rhaenys' blood, maybe?
Or something more sinister.
That's Grandmeister Clegg's theory, much later. He suggested Nymor threatened to hire the faceless men of Braavos to kill Aegon's young son and heir, Rhaenys.
The faceless man. That would be
Right.
a credible threat. Something even Aegon couldn't easily stop.
It's a theory that maybe makes the most sense, but we just don't know.
If we step back and look at the big picture here, this peace, it isn't just stopping the fighting. It's a huge shift for Aegon. A humbling one almost. He'd never really lost before, in the sense of not being able to force his will.
He couldn't conquer them. Not really.
Right. So the question hangs there. What secret, what possible leverage could make Aegon the Conqueror, after years of unleashing hellfire and suffering that immense personal loss of Rhaenys, just give up on the core demand for submission?
It really speaks to the limits of power, doesn't it? Even dragon power, faced with an enemy you can't break and maybe a threat you can't counter conventionally.
Precisely. It's a profound moment in his reign.
So the First Dornish War, 4 AC to 13 AC, it's over. Maria Martell, in her way, defeated Aegon and his dragons, did what no one else managed.
A unique victory.
But north of the mountains, the Dornish tactics got mostly scorn. Dornish courage became a joke, meaning cowardice or treachery. Scribes wrote Maria fought like a woman with lies and treachery and witchery.
No respect for the methods, even if they worked.
None at all. Their victory was seen as dishonorable, evasion, assassination, not standing and fighting. And the grudge. Oh, it lingered.
You bet it did.
Survivors, families of the dead, they vowed revenge. Another day would come, and with it a reckoning. That bitterness waited for generations.
All a long shadow.
And for Aegon, even though he ruled for another 24 years, this Dornish war, it was his last war. Aegon the Conqueror fought no more after Dorne.
Huh. Never thought of it that way. His last war.
So recapping here, we've seen Aegon dealing with these post-conquest fires, the Sisters. Swift, brutal, dragon-backed suppression, making an example.
Right, total submission.
The Iron Islands, a completely different approach. Calculated chaos management, letting them choose their own leader, integrating them carefully, pragmatism maybe.
Showing flexibility, adapting to the situation.
And then Dorne, an entirely different beast. Faced with unconventional warfare, environmental challenges, and unbreakable will, it turned into this brutal, attritional nightmare, ending not with conquest, but a negotiated, mysterious peace.
A peace that cost him dearly, personally and politically.
So his reign didn't just start with conquest. It started with this complex dance of power, defiance, adaptation, and finally this really surprising peace. And this dive, I think, it really shows you those layers, right? Even in histories that seem straightforward. There's strategy changing on the fly, huge personal costs, and these deep mysteries, like that letter, that can literally change the course of kingdoms.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that victory isn't always about having the biggest army or, the dragons. Sometimes it's about endurance, adaptation, refusing to play by the enemy's rules.
The Dornish certainly refused to play by Aegon's rules, and it worked in the end for them. So the Dornish conflict was Aegon's last war, but that bitterness, that promise of a future reckoning, it hung in the air for decades. What does that really tell us about true conquest? if the conquered are left unbowed and waiting for revenge.
The provocative thought.
And it leaves us with that final question, doesn't it? What do you think was really in that letter? What could possibly make the Dragon King himself finally yield?